Welcome to the beginning of Season 2, where we are now called the Mighty Baker Podcast. During the last few podcasts of Season 1, I decided to bring my podcast and my coaching business completely under my bakery business brand, the Mighty Baker. If you've been listening to Season 1 and have been wanting coaching, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would be happy to coach you or refer you to some amazing life coaches. I am Pete Tidwell, your host. I am a custom cake artist, bakery business coach, certified life coach, and the CEO at my bakery business, The Mighty Baker. In Season 2, I will be sharing all my successes and failures over the last 13 years and what I've learned from them and how I pivoted and shifted my business along my journey. I will also be sharing positive mindset tips and business and life tips along the way. In addition, I will be sharing about my experiences as a 2-time winner on Food Network's Cake Wars and a finalist on Halloween Baking Championship. I will also be inviting some of my baker friends that I've met over the years in all my baking adventures and talking to them about why they chose cake or desserts as an art or business. Let's dive right into this week's episode. Hey, what's up, you guys? Pete Tidwell here with the Mighty Baker Podcast. I am so excited to be here today to continue on the Mighty Baker Podcast and this journey that I'm going to take you on. We're going to go on the journey of who Pete Tidwell is and my journey from very young up until opening the Mighty Baker, and then my whole journey through opening the Mighty Baker, all the ups and downs, all the fun things. So before we jump into those things, into the business side, we're going to talk about my upbringing and where I grew up and some of the influences that I had in my life that probably helped guide me and at least plant some seeds in my brain to help guide me kind of on the direction that I went, because I had a mom who baked, a grandmother who baked for years professionally, an aunt who ran her own wedding cake and catering business for many years, my grandfather that ran a typewriter business for many years, and my older brother that owns and still runs his own deli businesses here in Utah. And how all of these things, and baking with my mom growing up, how all of these things laid a bunch of groundwork into becoming what I do. And so it's really interesting to kind of hear some of these background stories. So let's jump right in. I'm very excited for this. So I was born in Provo, Utah, and that's where I grew up. My parents actually live in the same house that they brought me home to 40 years ago in Provo, Utah, in the Edgemont area. I am the youngest of 6 children, so I have 3 older sisters and 2 older brothers. And I grew up with a typical childhood, riding bikes in the neighborhood, playing with neighborhood friends, a lot of sports programs, played some flag football, some soccer, some basketball, and some baseball, played a lot of little league, and my base was third base, and then I was a backup pitcher, but third base was always my favorite in baseball. I loved that long throw from third base all the way to first base was so satisfying, and just hearing the slap of that mitt when that ball hit the first base mitt in their glove, oh man, so good. Anyway, brings back a lot of memories talking about that. Also, growing up, I spent a lot of time, and I still am in contact and still have a best friend from when I was 3 years old. His name is Jesse Nelson, and he's amazing. He's one of my really amazing best friends that I still have to this day. And it's pretty fun. It's many, many years ago, and I still have him as a friend 37 years later. I also spent a lot of time playing with my older brother, Paul, who's 4 years older than I am. And we played all sorts of crazy, fun, creative games when we were little. Like, as for instance, a game called Animal Over the Wall, where we would take a large mattress and put it straight up and down in the middle of the stairwell, and then one of us would be at the top, one of us would be at the bottom, and we'd throw stuffed animals over each side. very creative because back then we didn't have screens to like be on. And so we had to be creative, which we were. And it was very healthy as I look back to that in comparison to my kids and a lot of the screen time that they have. And I'm always telling them to be creative and to do something kind of out of the box and put their screen down for a minute. There was another fun game I have to share about really quick that was called Stuck. And Stuck was an incredible game of luck and skill. There was this ledge that started at the top of the stairs and went to the end, and we would race our Matchbox cars along this 3 to 4 inch ledge and try to get them stuck in the corner. And the goal was to get the most cars stuck and to knock the other person's cars off so you can have more cars up there, and that's who won. Anyway, super random. Also, growing up, I've always had a very deep love for music. And that's because I'm the youngest of 6 children, so I have a very varied musical taste. I love bands like Pink Floyd from my brother Tad, Howard Jones from my sister Lynn, and I listen to so many different types of music. It's pretty incredible. The one type of music I don't favor is country music, and I don't listen to it voluntarily. And that's about it from a music standpoint. And growing up, my parents and siblings and we'd go on road trips to Seattle and to California to see cousins and aunts and uncles. I went to a lot of Dodgers games growing up, and I went to a Mariners game or two growing up as well up in Seattle, taking the ferry over to Bainbridge Island. I have a lot of great memories there, which were so much fun. And also, from a very young age, I was taught in a very important principle from a very young age from my parents, and that was that I would need to work for whatever I wanted, and that I would need to earn my own money. And like if I wanted a car, wanted like a certain thing, like outside of birthdays and Christmas, like we're not just going to buy you whatever you want. You're going to have to work for it and earn that. So from a very young age, I knew that I was going to have to earn my own money. So it was interesting because that kind of brought on some little things like, okay, how am I going to make money? So when I was young, I had paper routes, multiple paper routes with my brother and by myself. I picked up lawn mowing jobs all through my neighborhood, trying to make a little bit of money, save some money. And also, I rebounded basketballs for my brother Tad. He played basketball in high school and college, and he would practice basketball, and he would pay my friend Jesse and I to rebound basketballs for him, and he'd pay us like a penny per rebound or something. Super hilarious. We were really little at the time, so we would take the pennies and we would go up to the store and buy penny candies with them, and it's pretty hilarious. Anyway, so on to cakes. So it's interesting. All growing up, I had a birthday cake every single year for my birthday, and my mom would always make them for me. And I'll post some of these in an Instagram post so that you can see these probably tomorrow after this episode comes out. So check out there. But every year was different. We did a lot of sports themed cakes. There was a rollerblade themed cake. And when I got to about the age of 16, I started asking for either lemon or cream cheese pie for my birthday dessert or cake, because I guess I grew out of cakes or something and didn't want them those years. And growing up, I would have those cakes for my birthdays, which of course are all memories for me. And I have all these pictures and they bring back some great memories. Also, my mom was a baker at home. She would make cookies often. And then every year we would make these bear rolls for teachers when I went back to elementary school. And I have pictures of me making these with my mom when I was young. And I have some very cherished memories of just remembering making and baking those with my mom and then bringing those to elementary school on the first day of school and handing my teacher these cute little bear rolls, which were super amazing. Also, as I mentioned before, my grandma Tidwell, was a baker for 40 years. And her chocolate chip cookies and molasses cookies, we would go over to their house, usually on Sundays for family gatherings, and you'd walk in and you would smell freshly baked goods in her house. And one of my favorite memories of my grandma and my grandpa is they would show up in front of my mom and dad's house and honk their horn in their car, and we'd walk out and chat with them for a few minutes. And often my grandmother would hand us a little container of cookies, of course, because she was a baker and she wanted to share those with us. And so I grew up enjoying home baked goods and, of course, learned to love them, because who doesn't like grandma's cookies, right? I actually feature her recipes in some of my cookie boxes, actually, as an homage and, as a remembrance of her, because she was so incredible. The one thing that was the most instrumental and influential in me becoming an entrepreneur and wanting to open my own business was working at my first job. So when I turned 15 years old, I had a brother that opened a deli, and it's called Gandolfo's. If you live here in Utah, you know Gandolfo's. He has 3 locations: American Fork, Pleasant Grove, and North Orem. And I worked for him for 14 and a half years. So 25 years ago, when I was 15, I started working for him, and I loved it so much. It was such an exciting thing. I got to work with people. I got to learn from people that were way older than I was, and I just felt just grateful for that opportunity, and especially as I looked back in retrospect. I am so grateful for that opportunity that my brother gave me, and that I took the opportunity, because I learned so many things. Not only how to manage employees, manage store processes, manage catering, customer service, how to make sandwiches, salads, their mousse cake, like all the things that I got to learn in that experience are pretty dang incredible. More valuable than any business entrepreneur education could have ever done for me, because it taught me all the ins and outs, and ordering, and vendors, and hiring, and firing, and all the things, all the logistics that kind of go into it. And I am forever grateful for that. And it's kind of interesting, I'm recording this podcast this week because I'm actually working at the deli this week for my brother in the mornings, because his wife's out of town and I'm helping him out a little bit over there. And so yesterday and today and the next 3 days this week, I am working at Gandolfo's in American Fork here in Utah and helping him open his store. So I'm in there making egg sandwiches again in the morning and helping customers, and it's just fabulous. It's kind of a trip down memory lane, which is super, super fun. Anyway, so I think we're probably going to end off there today, because this story just goes on, and I want to share some things as we go through, but I want to keep these episodes about 10 to 15 minutes long. So from today, we kind of took from the fact that I grew up with a lot of different baking influences in my life, as well as grew up with a lot of entrepreneur influences in my life. And the combination between those and the lesson or the understanding as a young child that I would need to learn how to work and earn my own money for the things that I want, I think all 3 of those combined helped guide me and push me, I guess, in my mind to create something so that I can make money and that I can save and create the life that I want. And that's kind of the basis of what we kind of laid down today. And I think that's important and very enlightening to me as I'm looking through this, because I think those are 3 very important things that are like very pivotal in, and I just said pivotable. I don't think that is a word. Pivotal is the word I meant to say, but I'm leaving that in there because that's pretty dang funny. Anyway, so in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about me going to college, getting a job in New York City, previous to that, getting married, having kids, working in corporate marketing jobs, my first wedding cake, how I started like messing around a little bit with pastry and cakes and decorating. And the next episode really jumps into kind of laying that groundwork of my bakery and of the Mighty Baker. So basically, next episode is going to be really exciting. Super stoked about it. And hope you all have an amazing day. And we will see you on next week's episode. Hope you have a mighty day. See ya. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Season 2 is going to be incredible, so stay tuned and buckle your seatbelts because in coming weeks, we're going to have some fun things we're talking about. The Mighty Baker has a lot of exciting things going on. Head to themightybaker.com or follow us on social media at The Mighty Baker to stay updated on what we have coming down the pipeline. One new area of my business that I'm very excited about is my bakery business coaching. I am now taking on one-on-one clients, coaching them on how to grow their bakery business and how to stay sane as a small business owner. Head to bakerybusinesscoach.com to sign up for a free 30-minute discovery coaching session. I'd love to coach you on any issues you have going on in your business or your life as a business owner. Please join us next time on the Mighty Baker podcast. This is your host, Pete Tidwell, signing off and reminding you to make your day a mighty one.